Countries, especially in the oil-rich Gulf, invest significant annual funds in recruiting past their prime sports stars for newly established local leagues. Despite the massive global sports industry, relying on it to anchor an economy proves risky. Major events like the World Cup often fail to bring positive economic outcomes to host nations, as seen in Qatar's case. While Gulf states aim to diversify their economies, the strategy of pouring billions into financially struggling sports leagues raises concerns. Critics suggest leaders may be driven by personal interests in sports, using petrodollars for pursuits like golf or football. However, there's speculation that these seemingly extravagant expenditures may have an underlying economic strategy. The impact of such spending on economic issues, the potential exacerbation of problems, and the justifiability of substantial public expenditures remain crucial questions. Recently, much attention has been directed towards the contracts offered to football, that is, soccer players in the Saudi Arabian Pro League. Despite its limited international recognition and lower viewership compared to European or American counterparts, the Saudi government, through the majority-owned teams of the Public Investment Fund, PIF, is funding high-profile contracts. The PIF is a sovereign wealth fund, a large investment pool commonly used by oil-rich states to invest oil revenues in projects diversifying their economies away from oil dependency. While sovereign wealth funds like Norway's government pension fund have transparent operations and invest globally, the Gulf states, including Qatar, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia, have faced criticism for the opacity of their funds. Limited information is available about the origin of funds beyond state oil revenues, and their investment destinations are often undisclosed, except for notable acquisitions such as sports contracts and teams. One notable example is Newcastle United, owned by the PIF, participating in the English Premier League. The logic behind such investments prompts questions about the economic strategy. One perspective suggests that sports teams, despite running at a loss, are viewed as businesses in a sizable industry. Investing in these teams, domestically and internationally, is considered analogous to regular investments in companies. The distinction lies in the public's greater interest in sports figures compared to financial securities. However, the ethical implications of countries with questionable human rights records owning beloved national figures should not be overlooked. While sports teams may not be optimal financial investments, the interconnected nature of investment funds and national economies in the Gulf states may mitigate direct financial returns. These funds aim to diversify national income beyond resource revenues by building local industries. Just as mega projects in the desert may seem irrational individually, sports teams could contribute to attracting tourists and international business, aligning with the goal of transforming into a regional business and tourist hub. For instance, Newcastle United's major sponsor, CA, specializes in sports events primarily in Saudi Arabia. Despite the potential for economic benefits, some skeptics argue that decision-makers might be driven by personal interests or a desire to emulate real-life FIFA managers by paying to win. It is crucial for economic advisors within these countries to address potential challenges and assess the overall effectiveness of such strategies in the context of other pressing issues. Ultimately, the success of attracting sports fans worldwide and turning the Gulf states into sports and business destinations will likely vary among countries. Economic advisors should consider the broader implications and potential impact on issues beyond the realm of sports. Engaging in sports, particularly with big-name players, has the potential to draw attention to local leagues in the Gulf states. This attention, in turn, can serve as a means to showcase a country as a genuine tourist and business destination. With the combination of mega projects, low taxes, and a central location, these countries present an attractive proposition for businesses looking to capitalize on what might seem like extravagant spending. To understand how this strategy could unfold, we can draw parallels with California's history. California's transformation into one of the world's largest economies began with the gold rush in the mid-1980s. The allure of potential fortunes drove people to remote areas, leading to the development of towns and subsequently cities. Industries unrelated to mining emerged, turning California into an economic powerhouse similar to Germany. While the Gulf states won't experience a literal gold rush, they are creating a business rush by enticing companies to set up operations and secure lucrative state contracts. Unlike the old days of manual resource extraction, today's natural resources in the Gulf states are managed by multinational corporations. The countries are essentially engineering a modern-day rush for businesses to establish themselves, not by seeking gold, but by pursuing substantial state contracts. Some Gulf states have already begun developing industries that support the oil sector. Governments are encouraging this diversification by investing in national airlines, which not only generate sustainable revenue, but also facilitate stopovers in these countries. Adding sports to the equation provides another reason for people to visit, host conferences, and invest in infrastructure like hotels and restaurants. While Saudi Arabia may not directly profit from these massive sports deals, it could expedite its transition to a self-sustaining economy by a few years. In the race against time to diversify their economies, spending a small fraction of resource revenues on industries that accelerate the transition seems like a calculated risk. While the long-term vision of the Saudi government remains uncertain due to limited transparency in spending and governance, giving them the benefit of the doubt suggests that this spending aligns with a broader strategic vision for the country's economy. However, significant challenges persist, such as the lack of public knowledge about the Gulf states. While this may not be their most pressing issue, it highlights the need for transparent communication to build understanding and support for their economic strategies, particularly when compared to the more open governance in Western countries. The Gulf states are not hidden gems for tourists. Instead, they face significant challenges such as endemic corruption, cronyism, controlled media, and concerns about migrant workers' rights. These issues, coupled with different cultural values, make these countries frequent targets of criticism. However, businesses and individuals seeking convenient stopovers, cost-effective airlines, luxurious accommodations, and a chance to witness oil-funded mega-projects may still be attracted to these nations, albeit often disregarding moral considerations for potential financial gains. Comparisons with California's history during the gold rush and Singapore's transformation underscore that even initially challenging environments can evolve into advanced value-adding centers. While a negative public image may slow down these countries, complete isolation and refusal to engage could exacerbate existing problems. Sports, in this context, could serve as a unifying force, bringing people together and potentially exposing these nations to constructive criticism. The spotlight on issues like migrant labor and geopolitical conflicts, thanks to events like the World Cup and Formula One, may force these countries to address and rectify such concerns. However, using sports to improve their global image is not a novel concept. Authoritarian regimes have long employed international sporting events to showcase their countries and distract from underlying issues through a practice known as sports washing. In recent decades, this trend has intensified due to globalization, where no economy can exist in isolation. The Gulf states owe much of their recent prosperity to globalization, from establishing world-class oil facilities to exporting energy globally, building cities in the desert, and investing in sports worldwide. While their international reputation hasn't been a major concern due to the fungibility of oil, other global industries, more dependent on perception, are vulnerable. As the world reevaluates complex supply chains, countries benefiting from both sides find themselves caught in the crossfire. Exposure to an audience of billions through sports can make political backlash against policymakers a tangible threat. Despite the seemingly extravagant cost of these sports deals, they serve as valuable marketing tools for these countries to secure future economic prosperity or act as a cost-effective political insurance policy. Saudi Arabia's oil-based prosperity, while significant, is ultimately unsustainable, and leveraging sports may offer a way to navigate the complexities of the truly global economy. Well, that's it for today. What are your thoughts on this strategy? Do you believe it's a calculated risk to diversify their economy, or do you see potential drawbacks? How does the concept of sports washing impact your perception of these investments? Share your opinions in the comments below. If you found this video intriguing, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more insightful content. Until next time.